Face to Face with Mariam Gunvijaya.
A very good evening. You're watching yet another edition of the Face to Face, where we dive deeper into Sri Lanka's political arena. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Mariam Gunvijaya, and our guest this evening is the Secretary of the SLMC, Mr. Nizam Kariapper. A very good evening to you, Mr. Kariapper, and welcome on the show.
Good evening to everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right, there's quite a lot happening in the country in terms of economic developments, geopolitics, international relations, and we could go on discussing so much when it comes to Sri Lankan politics. So I just wanted to start off with the IMF press conference that was held this evening, Mr. Kariapper. Now, they spoke about Sri Lanka's developments. They said that we're making good progress, and they said that the economic reform program implemented by Sri Lankan authorities have given signs of recovery. But then they also said that these improvements need to translate into improving living conditions for the people of Sri Lanka. What is your stance when it comes to the sustainability of implementing these reforms?
But I see a basic contradiction in what they say. Well, economic reform from the IMF point of view is to bring about a situation where you have more taxes. But does that will translate into a sustainability, a good living condition for the people is a big question mark. But when you say a living condition, that should include if people should be able to pay taxes without any grudge.
Right.
Ask this question from anybody. The immediate response is, okay, we'll pay the taxes, where will it go? The question is, there is no trust or a confidence built by the government over the people, simply because all these allegations of corruptions, whatever the economic reform has, not a single incident of government taking serious issue about corruptions or the corruption that is already been committed or accountability for the people who are responsible for the corruption. What's happened to them? So I think there's a big gap between the winning over the confidence of the trust of the people for them to voluntarily and happily without grudge paying the taxes. So IMF, I don't know how they are looking at it. Maybe just they are looking on the surface and say, okay, things are happening and about the living conditions, but then do we have a proper public transportations? Do we have a proper, we did have a very good health, but then what's happening now?
Yeah.
We did have an excellent education, free education system at a time when there was a closed economy. What had happened to them? So we privatized the whole thing, and the government is slowly getting out of all their responsibility of looking after the social welfare of the people, and suddenly say, okay, we better pay more taxes. How does it, balance? Because you went and did all the development without any sustainable, proper, feasible studies. You never did any study as to how this is going to help the people. So I'm very, I'm not that happy, not only from my party's point of view, even as a general citizen. IMF reform just separately, yes, we do accept there are things that we have to face. We do accept that we have to pay taxes. We know how that happens in other country. But we absolutely are not satisfied with how it's happening from the point of view of the people's living condition. It's becoming worse day by day. That's how I feel about it.
So while people and political parties have various comments to make about what the government is doing, and then the IMF says that we're actually making progress, how do you think this is affecting an election year for the country?
Interesting, because President Ranil Wickremesinghe is saying that he's going to get the whole country out of the economic mess, and then very confident. And sometimes I don't know whether to laugh or cry when Member of Parliament Honorable Vajira says that he's going to get 10 million, leave alone from his actual numbers that they couldn't even win a single seat. Either he's joking or that he had other plans. I don't know what they are talking about. Or maybe he thinks, okay, I can put a big line and suddenly for the New Year in April, give some concession and cheat the people. No, it doesn't work like that. I believe only a party or a person who can present a feasible program where, while accepting certain serious economic reform, getting the people to pay for what they enjoy, stop giving everything summa freely. But at the same time, especially the ordinary people should able to have a standard living condition for them. So only such a program can be acceptable to the people. So I am not sure whether this government is conscious about it, and I am not sure how they are going to think of getting the vote of the people. They look like they want to perform some magic. They want to get the rabbit out of their hat. I don't know.
Now, Mr. Kariapper, when it comes to you or me even personally, we have an agenda as to how we go by. The SLMC definitely has an agenda. Every public institution, I believe, they have an agenda as to how they are going to work by, what their plan is like, what their course of action is like. For the UNP and even Ajbajra Bevadana to make comments like that, I'm sure they have an agenda. But what do you think that agenda is?
If they have an agenda, we better be careful. Because, I mean, either he's a magician, for him to say that he can get a 10 million votes, having spent, even Gota couldn't get it, right? Either he is just insulting our intelligence, or he must be thinking something else. Maybe, we don't know whether he's thinking a 10 million some referendum. I just don't understand. You'd ask this question from him. Maybe these are all loose talk that they make without absolutely no responsibility. So that makes us more worried, people making such, comments. But it's interestingly, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, true to his personality, is very careful what he says about it, but he's getting all these, sorry to say, jokers to make these comments. That's how I look at it.
Right, but he's also working with the foreign countries, the international community to, get Sri Lanka to a particular place. Don't you think that's part of the agenda as well? Isn't that a good thing?
I must appreciate that part of it. He does.
Okay.
He seems to be making a lot of progress in the international arena, winning over it. But I don't think the... But is this now? Who are these countries? West? They will say, okay, they are saying you have to have your own economy. It's not like a geopolitical interest, either China, India saying, do it whatever we want, we give you the money. It's something else. So, don't know whether in this international fight for this, what do you call Indo-Pacific regional military base, whether there is some deal. Because a lot of questions, because, I would like to touch how this government out of nowhere, when we have so broken economy, saying, okay, we'll send our naval to the Red Sea to support within a US naval to control. Quite interesting. How does it affect us? What is the national interest we have in it? How does it help us? If there's any money return, how does we have actually any interest in there? On the contrary, when the Red Sea block is there, not that I support. It has given an opportunity for a more ship to come to the Colombo port, since they are coming through the old, this Cape of Good Hope or the South African. So that suddenly there is an increase of ships. I don't think as a Sri Lankan we can say, okay, there is a big fight that we are prospering through it. No, not that the point. But then, what it is, with all these problems, we are just getting dragged into another war.
Right.
So there are more questions. There are no answer.
Now, you mentioned about geopolitics, and you mentioned whatever that is happening in the Red Sea region looks like Sri Lanka's new playground in the geopolitical arena is the Red Sea. But how do you think, do you have a problem with the way the country is approaching this particular situation? Or do you think they are not thinking about the people here at home when this happens?
No. We do have a problem because we feel there's some other hidden agenda.
Okay.
I don't think the Sri Lankan government is getting involved, because you remember the Avancrad, okay? We were helping the ships to have a safe journey, and we got a lot of money out of it. And we still have a question. There is no accountability. It's some billions. Those are, say, for the security reasons, there's no transparency. We don't know what type of, who made the request, how did this offer come? Is there any monetary consideration? At least if there is any other any other benefit that was spoken to? And why should we get involved in a expansion war for Palestine? That's only, they are now, they come to the Red Sea, the Yemen, the Saudi, all the countries, US. Now why have we get dragged in? What is our foreign policy? Where do we draw our line? Is in our first, concern is about geopolitics? Shouldn't we first balance the India and China? Why should we jump into this? I mean, when the foreign minister not seems to be giving explanation. And I don't know whether there was actual discussion on it.
Right.
There's absolutely no transparency. Nobody knows why we jumped into it. So, and then whether there is any money transaction for whoever doing it so that he can do the elections. Don't know whether this is part of the reason why Honorable Wazir says that he'll get about 10 million votes. So we are all watching. We are all watching. And one thing I realize, not only me, younger generations are well educated. They may not be in directly politics. They have access to the whole information through the internet. And even I want to know something, I would like to ask my children, whoever, especially even I would say my daughter-in-law, because things have gone and people are watching. They have the knowledge to understand. So don't expect people, they can pull the, leg of these people, especially even in the rural area. I think government is taking people for granted.
Mr. Kariapper, I don't know if you came across this particular interview that when it comes to the attacks on the Houthis, the US and the UK attacks, very recently the UK Foreign Secretary gave an interview to a foreign media agency, and they were asked if they didn't consider what would happen to the people back at home when this happened. And the UK Foreign Secretary said that, of course we did, we thought about the people, we thought if there were alternatives, and they actually went for it because they thought that they were capable of doing it. But when Sri Lanka made this decision, do you believe that we were capable of helping them?
Leave alone. Why they are not even capable of helping the northern fishermen's issue, right?
Yeah.
We have to seek help from others. Look at the history. There are a number of times we have to seek help from the other naval bases within the region. The northern fishing big issue is still going on. No,
so we're basically going to poke our nose into others' businesses before we've sorted our own.
Definitely. There's something wrong somewhere. That's what our leaders are raised, and then it has a political implications. And I personally don't accept that, attacking in support of the Palestine. There may be some political background for that Houthi, because they have the Yemen, then the rebels, their own political agenda into it.
But what does a small island like Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean region have to do with it?
Because far away, it's away from our maritime territory.
And this is affecting our...
Yeah, definitely. Because our relationship with the Middle East, our support for the Palestine cause.
Our freight charges have increased.
All. And then, and we were very worried about even taking a naval ship out of our petrol issues, energy issues, and we are sending all
What
the way
if we
there.
send a ship out and then they attack
and most of them are all gifted, not that we have so many naval ships. We are just
but our Navy officers?
We are putting at the
What's
rest.
the stand of the other political parties, Mr.
Now, I think there is a fundamental issue of non-transparency. If somebody can put forward, this is the national interest, this is the benefit we are going to get it, that's why we are doing it, and there's been open discussion, maybe somebody can accept it. Somebody, I read the other day, somebody had written an article about exposure to such a conflict will enhance the capacity and the capability of our naval officers. Look, sometimes there is some argument, but that's not the way. This is not a cricket game for us to expose to the international arena so that become good player. No, it doesn't happen in that way. So definitely there is a big question, and there is a lot of political background to it, and then it also hurts as a Muslim community that blindly just going and supporting it. Unless we had some, shipping, line, or we have number of shipping interest in that, we have to safeguard. There's nothing like that. Nothing like that. So there's something fishy about the whole thing.
So it's the non-transparency of the government that's leading back to all of it. It's a full circle out of... Yeah.
Definitely, there's no two words about it.
How do you think now, when political parties like you all have a stance like this, and then we've seen over the past few weeks how the people have said that, you know, we have so many issues, even like you mentioned, the northern fishermen, they've said that there are so many issues in our ocean, our sea, and then they are going out to help the other countries and support the other countries. While people are thinking like this, and then the president and the government is going and acting like that, do you think the people would actually support them in an
They won't
upcoming
support
election?
in the first place, but I'm surprised there is no much of a protest from the opposition among the people.
Is that also an agenda?
Maybe there's no awareness on this issue because
Okay.
far away, ordinary people doesn't understand. It doesn't affect him. He doesn't realize, okay, my son or a husband is just there in that war. If it is a UN peacekeeping, if they had an understanding internationally, okay, we are pulling ships, there will be some reward. Okay, we wanted to maintain peace in the Red Sea, we are going to get all the neighboring countries to come together. This is a different thing. But there are no such thing. The US has sent and the UK has sent, and we are going and joining. I don't know what it is for. And I think our leader has raised this issue in the parliament.
Right.
Mr. Hakim has raised this issue in the parliament. And opposition leaders also raised this issue in parliament. I think there are not much of a protest that is heard in this issue for
Because
reasons
of
unknown.
lack of education about the
Maybe,
matter.
and also they don't understand how it had affected you.
Right.
We may not know. Maybe after 1 month we will know how much of money we have spent, how many life we have lost, what are the losses we have. At the moment we don't know.
Okay.
People sometimes think, okay, we'll get some money out
So
of
as
it.
long as it doesn't affect us, we are not worried about
That's
it.
exactly one of the reasons why our downfall is that. But that was one of the reasons for our downfall. So I think this issue had been not properly focused. That's what I thought. And thank you for your channel for bringing it out and giving us an opportunity to talk about it.
Of course. When you meant downfall, what did you mean? Economic downfall?
Of course.
Right.
Of course. We don't know once at the end of the day, when the Auditor General will supply, the Navy has spent so much of petrol, whatever I don't know what they pump for these ships. I'm not expert whether it's diesel or petrol. All these things these are all foreign exchange.
But Mr. Kariapper, when people talk about the current government and they speak of economic downfall, a year ago, every junction, when you just pass, there are fuel queues, gas queues.
Yeah.
People are struggling to, afford food and all of that stuff. And now when they don't see those queues, they are under the impression that
Things are all okay.
all okay.
But did we do the same thing about 5 years back? Didn't we very happy when the Southern Highway all the way to Mattala makes no difference? When Mattala airport was open, are we not happy? Has any one of us gone and seen what's happening? Don't they realize this is our money? These are the money. If it is served, we would have had little dollar left in our treasury. So, is the government waiting for another Araga?
So the people are unaware.
Looks like so, and I don't know.
What can be done, Mr. Kariapper,
No,
to
there
tackle
must be
this
more
situation? Because there should be
exposure.
something
There
that
must be
should
more
done.
exposure, and I think there must be more questions in Parliament. This has to be, debated.
So who's responsible for that?
Opposition, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, and I am little surprised even the NPP, JVP, which takes these things very high, had not given that much of importance to this. I also don't understand the reason. Or maybe I am unaware because there are so many other issues that has cropped up.
Okay.
The
Like?
cost of living,
Okay.
the living conditions, the taxes. When too many people doesn't know which to react. Now, suddenly somebody will say, no, I want to do a transfer. I need a tin. I need a tax file. What do I do? They're all talking about it. Now I have to get my vehicle. I have not transferred the vehicle for months. Now they are saying, and somebody is asking me, sir, do you know whether I have to pay some taxes when I did that? I said, I myself don't know. So the people are now all being lost. And I don't know when this is not the way a government behave when there's an election. So I don't know. Bravo.
So what should be done? I mean, it's an election year. We're supposed to have 3 elections this year.
Yeah.
There are talks about an election being postponed as well, a general election coming in 2025 and not this year. Do you think the people would accept it? Would you all accept
no,
it in
very
the first place?
unlikely. There'll be definitely a huge Aragalaya for that.
Okay.
That
Another
will come.
Aragalaya.
Yeah, of course. I mean, all of us will join. I don't think government can even dream of postponing a constitutionally mandated election, presidential election, unless he brings in a referendum to abolish the presidential system, which is very unlikely because that has to proceed by a two-third endorsement in parliament. But everything is question. Now say a group of Pohottua consists of Arjun, this Prasanna Ranatunga, Lanza, who are there? They're the closest comrades of Mahinda Rajapaksa. And then suddenly we hear now they are organizing 40 MPs to support Ranil. Will they do without the consent and the blessings of Mahinda? Unbelievable. Now Pohottua had a huge sammelane. Who are the people who did the work? Prasanna Ranatunga. And he was praised by Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is the leader of the party.
Yeah.
And then we hear on the other side, they are all organizing a group to support Ranil. I mean, it's so confusing.
So are the parties working together or are they?
There is more to than what we see outward.
Okay.
There is
But
all-
aren't the people supposed to know? You all, I mean,
Yeah, we have to teach, for an example, say, I believe this is the way of supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe by Pohottua without saying it's not Rajapaksa. The Rajapaksas are so unpopular among the people.
okay.
So that must be a methodology that they are using to say, okay, they are not Rajapaksa, they are anti-Rajapaksa within Pohottua supporting it. I have not seen UNB except for holding some conference and having their own set of group, doing any network organization, grassroots organization at the village level. Maybe they are still depending on the Pohottua's grassroots. And
Do you think he's targeting a niche market?
maybe,
Will that get him the votes?
very unlikely. But then he is expecting the Pohottua network to bring him the vote. That's what they are expecting, this Prasanna and Lasan. And then this is my personal view is to finally they will bring Goni Bill out of NPP and say now if Anura Kumar Dissanayake comes, all of you all are doomed. There will be this, that and everything, and that is one reason we must get together and there will be this talk. And we also felt that this UNBSJB must come together, but both of them not seems to be having trusted each other, and they had good reasons not to trust each other. And we also don't see any goodwill act upon both of them. Even for that matter, President Ranil Wickremesinghe doesn't do anything beyond just saying yes, they are welcome to come. And he had not even made an attempt to bring about some, collection of people who are of the same view on this economic issue also. So as an SLMC, we are very open. We are just watching. We are as confused as you all.
Mr. Kariapper, so many clashes, so many conflicts,
I
so
know.
many agendas. Who would you all support? Do you all think there is someone who is actually capable of doing something for the country, to even the minority? Do you think there is someone focused on every sector of the country? Nobody.
Very, very unfortunately, we can't
So then who is
pinpoint
going
and
to lead
say-
the country in the end of the day?
Let's see. But then, of course, I must say, this time around, whether it's SLMC or Tamil Party or Sinhala Party, we have to give priority about the country's welfare.
Right.
While getting this country out of this economic mess, anybody who is presenting a proposal which will give lesser burden on the ordinary people seems to be the key. And we are watching, we'll wait who will bring that proposal. So far we have not seen anybody. We have seen NPP leaders talking about it, but still that's the Anura Kumar Dissanayake, but he is yet to say anything on this minority issue. To be very honest, there had never been any official discussion with SLMC by any political party on this issue.
So where is that heading then?
They are waiting for a time, maybe May onwards will start.
Right. Okay. So that is, I don't know if I should call it an unfortunate situation for the country, but that is where the country is heading to. And we've spoken about elections, we've spoken about economic reforms, we've spoken about geopolitics. And Sri Lanka is a little island standing in between all of those issues. And everyone is just seeking for solutions at the moment.
I know.
Right.
And then I think even the geopolitics, our international foreign policy is a very important factor because we cannot take sides.
Right.
We have to balance it. Sometimes
But aren't we
personal-
non-aligned?
Huh?
Aren't we a non-aligned country?
We are supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be. But then I must say the concept of non-aligned has gone far beyond. Now, certain geopolitical reality has to be accepted, beginning with our neighbor. Rightly or wrongly, the next superpower just
Yeah.
hands away China. And then before you go to America, there's Europe. These are the three nations with whom our economy matters, our India, China, and then Europe, all our foreign, and the Middle East. This is where we get our foreign currency. The America is last in the list, isn't it? So, I mean, not that I have anything against America, but that's the reality. But that's what I thought. At a time when Russia made an attempt to bring India and China together on BRICS, when America realized they are getting marginalized, they found some way of, making them relevant in the international scene. Then I thought, when they say Hamas took us by surprise on November 7th, I said, what nonsense. The same thing they said about Easter attack. We didn't know anything. They would have known everything. That's an excuse. Because to find out who was responsible, to wait who is going to get benefit at the end of the day. When the war is over, the casualty, the Palestinian civilians, the number of the kilometer that they would have lost, it's true, some Israel casualties. But if you do a calculation, if you know who had benefited, then we know who was responsible for the beginning.
Right. So that was our discussion about our fight against, or I don't know if we should call it our friendship with the superpowers in the world. That was our discussion with the Secretary of the SLMC, Mr. Nizam Kariapper. Thank you so much for being with us today. And with that, we wrap up Face to Face for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night and take care.